And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jernigan versus Coffin, step forward, please.
Airplane production controller Brenda Jernigan is suing her boyfriend's daughter, 23-year-old administrative assistant Crystal Coffin, for an unpaid loan to pay bills.
Ms. Jernigan, I assume that this is your boyfriend.
Yes, it is.
And this is his daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that you made a loan to Ms. Coffin,
Yes,
your
ma'am.
boyfriend's daughter, in the amount of $2,000, that she's made some payments on the loan, but she still owes you a little over $1,700. Ms.
Correct.
Coffin said she's never borrowed any money from you. She took some money that her father gave her, but she doesn't owe you anything. So tell me about this loan.
Okay, John and I have known each other for almost 5 years now. He is Crystal's father. We moved in together in September of 2000, and soon after that, in December, I decided to loan Crystal $2,000.
Well, tell me how that came about.
John kept getting numerous phone calls from Crystal about getting behind on her car payments and the rent and the electric bills and the water bills. So he didn't have the money at the time, so I decided that I would loan it to her. It took me a couple of weeks to decide.
Just a minute. At what point did she have a discussion with you, if ever?
I did talk with Crystal sometime around the second week in December of 2000, and she just told me that she needed to get up to date on her car payments. She asked me if I could loan her some money, and I finally agreed a couple of weeks later to do so, and that's when her dad called her.
Why didn't you call her?
Because he decided he wanted to handle things with his daughter.
Fine, step up. What's your last name?
Coffin.
Mr. Coffin, then you had a conversation with your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say to her?
I told Crystal that Brenda could let her borrow $2,000, and that would help her pay her credit cards off.
What did she say to you?
Get caught up. She told me that would be fine if I could get it to her as soon as possible. So we went down. Brenda took the money out of her account. I took the money, took it into the bank in South Carolina, and deposited it into my daughter's North Carolina account.
Is that about right, Miss Coffin?
No. I called my father and asked him if he could give me some money because the house bills were past due. I could not afford to keep the house bills caught up because I was trying to keep my own bills, my car payment, and my credit cards caught up.
Well, whose house is it?
It's his house. Well, a house he rents in his name.
What do you mean he rents in his name?
I live there, but the house lease is still in his name.
But you live there?
Yes, ma'am.
With whom?
My younger sister.
How old is she?
She is currently 21.
Okay. So he moved out of the house and told you that you could stay in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
And you left the two girls in the house, and what was the arrangement with regard to the rent?
Well, I was still paying the rent at the time I moved out,
When did you stop?
probably a year later.
So you paid the rent on the house
And the
for a
electric
year
bill. And
while
the
your
water
two
bill.
girls were living there.
Yes.
And when did you decide to stop paying the rent?
I got a job in South Carolina, moved to South Carolina. My son moved in with the girls, and they said they would take care of the bills.
So far, is that correct, Miss Coffin?
No, ma'am. My brother actually lived with my father for several months before he moved home. My father called me and asked me, will you call your brother and ask him to come help you? And I said yes. He was still giving money for the rent, but he stopped, and I took over paying the rent.
Okay, well, that's fine. You were living there?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So they were your bills. At that point, your father hadn't been there in some time.
Right.
And he had, in fact, paid the rent and the bills for a period of time, even when he wasn't living there.
Up to a point, yes, ma'am.
But then he said, now you kids are grown-ups. You're over 21. You're on your own. Pay your own bills.
Right.
And you got behind.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead. Let me hear the rest.
I asked him if he could afford to send me some money to help get caught up on the bills that were past due. He said that he would see what he could do. If he could come up with the money in some way, he would. He called me back and said that he was able to come up with $2,000 and that he would deposit the money into my account and that it should hit sometime the next afternoon.
Are you telling me, Miss Coffin, that you never had a conversation with Miss Jernigan about money?
I had a conversation with Miss Judy. Yes, ma'am.
And what was the conversation?
She asked me to list all the bills that I was behind on and to tell her which ones I thought were the most important. And I said, well, the only bills I'm really concerned about you needing help with from my father are the house bills because the other bills are my bills.
They're all your bills. You live there. So you have to pay your rent. Now, what I want to know is, one gets the sense that you fully understood that your father didn't have this money, that the $2,000 was coming from Miss Jernigan. And I say that because you had a conversation with her about how much money you needed and what you needed the money for. And but for the fact that you thought that perhaps she could help you with that money, why would you discuss your financial matters with a stranger?
My father asked me to talk to her about it.
Why?
Because he was going to try to get the money from her, and she wanted to know where the money was going and what it was for.
Okay. So you understood that your father didn't have the money, and that if you were going to borrow the money, it was going to be from her.
I didn't borrow the money from her.
Why would she give you money?
I understood that he was going to get the money from her to give to me.
According to Miss Jernigan, she's not even asking you for any interest. She received $230 from you. You have a balance of $1,770.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a note there, Miss Jernigan, that you indicate in your complaint that the defendant sent you sometime in 2002.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it. It says, sorry about all the delays. I will try to send something every month from now on. Love, Crystal.
Yes, ma'am.
So?
That was last summer, I believe June or July of 2002. Brenda's mother had passed away, and my father came down for the funeral. He told me that she was emotionally distraught because of all of the bills that had accumulated while she was not able to work, while she was taking care of her mother, and that she was giving him a little bit of a hard time about not having made any payments to her. And he came to me at work and said, I need you to give me some money so that I can give Brenda some money, just so that she'll feel a little bit better.
Good. That's a good thing that you gave her the money because you took it from her. And your apology is very clear. Sorry about all the delays because you didn't feel like following through. You owe her the money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,770. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I was a little shocked that the judge saw it the way that she did.
If I'd have had the money, I would have loaned it to her.
My father is trying to make me responsible for his debt.
I was trying to help Crystal out in a time of need.
I'm thankful that my father was able to help me out in my time of need.
I would love to see all three of us get, but I don't know if that can happen.
This woman and I have nothing further to say or see each other for any reason.
I love my daughter to death, and I always will.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Moore versus Muhammad. Step forward, please.
Pharmacy technician Tracy Moore is suing her ex-boyfriend, private detective Busharat Muhammad, for an unpaid loan to get his car out of the shop. Busharat is countersuing for medical bills as the result of Tracy's harassment.
Miss Moore, you claim a loan, a small one, of $200 to the defendant who at some point was a boyfriend of yours.
Yes.
Mr. Mohammed says there was never a loan. You did, in fact, give him $200, which is the amount you're suing for, but that was for work that he was doing for you in his capacity as a private investigator. Mr. Mohammed has filed a counterclaim alleging that because you harassed him for this $200 over a long period of time, he developed an ulcer, and he would like you to pay some $2,000 for his medical bills. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you meet him, and when did you give him the $200?
I met him at the end of July in 2002. I loaned him the $200 on September 2nd in the agreement that he was going to pay me back.
September 2nd?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you start to date him? Were you dating him in July and August?
You could say that, yes.
What do you mean? I don't want to say that. I want to know if you want to say that.
Sorry. It was more of he starting to take control of me and was making me call him all the time, and so I guess he was claiming me as his girlfriend, yes.
I don't know what that means.
Your Honor, she's lying. That's why she can't even tell the court straight what's going on.
I'm going to get to you in a second. Did you go out to dinner together?
No, ma'am.
Did you go to a movie together?
No, ma'am.
Did you go visit a park together?
No, he was
A
always...
zoo?
No.
I don't want to hear anything. Did he come to your house?
Yes.
For dinner?
No, ma'am.
Did you have an intimate relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge,
About this $200 in September.
He asked me to loan him $200 so he can get his car out of a shop.
Tell me where you were when you had this discussion.
In my apartment.
And exactly what did he say to you?
He asked me if he could borrow the $200 so he can get his car out of the shop, and that he would pay me back within 2 days when he got his money. And then he took me to the bank to cash my check, and that's when I gave him the $200.
And what happened on September 2nd? After that, you didn't see him anymore?
He didn't come over, and I would try and call him, and he told me to stop harassing him, and he would hang up on me.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Mohammed, let me hear you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, Your Honor, we never dated. We had a friendship, but we never dated. That's why she couldn't get it straight. I never told her my car was in the shop. She came to me. She said that her mother was trying to...
Just a second. She came to you where?
Well, we were at her house talking.
So you were at her house?
Exactly.
She didn't come to you?
No, we were at her house.
You went to her house?
I went to her house to visit her.
Go ahead.
And she said that her mother was her mother was really upset. And I said, about what? And she said, well, because she is trying to get money from her ex-husband, trying to garnish his wages. I said, well, I did investigation part-time before. If you want me to try to help you, I can save her a lot of money by taking her down to the court places where you could buy the paperwork, show her how to fill the paperwork out. She could do it herself.
You were going to take her to the courthouse?
No.
To where?
I have a client of mine that owns a store where he sells paper, you know, the packets that show you how to file on landlord disputes and certain things, small individual.
So you were going to take her to the store?
Yes, ma'am.
And get her the right set of forms?
Exactly.
Go ahead.
And she said, yes. She said, well, I told her, well, for a flat fee of $200, I would do that. Ms. Moore said, I'll give it to him when I get my check in the mail.
Okay, so that's what you say it was for. You took her to the bank, she gave you the $200.
Exactly.
And that was on what date, sir?
That was around September the 7th or 8th.
Okay. Now, when did you take her mother to the store?
I never did.
Stop! You never did?
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you were supposed to do, according to your answer, Mr. Mohammed, for the $200.
Exactly.
So you didn't do what you had said you were going to do?
No, ma'am. I didn't.
Why not?
Because I tried to contact her mother 3 days in a row. In fact, after I got the money the next day, I called her. I said, look, we need to try to get down there and take her to the stationery store.
Okay, so you didn't get together with the mother, so keep going.
So she called me about 2 days later and said, I want the money back.
Right.
I said, I don't have it right now. I said, my thing was to help your mother. She said, well, I need the money. She said, because I got to pay bills and feed my children. I said, well, I don't have it right now. She said, well, you better get it.
You're a hustler.
I'm a hustler.
You're a hustler.
I'm about as much hustler
You're a
as you
hustler.
are.
You're a hustler, Mr. Mohammed. Let me tell you why you're a hustler. Because I read your answer very carefully. Let's understand what you've just testified to before I get to it. You said to me that this was not a loan.
Right.
This had nothing to do with your car.
Exactly.
You said to... Don't agree with me, sir. You said to me that you were having a discussion with her. She said her mother needed to do some work to get some alimony or support from her ex-husband. You had a friend who had a stationery store. You were going to take her mother down there and make sure she got the right forms. That's not something that costs $200.
No,
let me finish. I'm finishing now, but that's what you were going to do. And then, for one reason or another, within a day or two, you realized that this wasn't going to come about. You weren't going to take her mother down to get the forms, and therefore you had done nothing so far. Nothing for that $200. Now, let me read from your answer, sir. In August, she hired me to do some investigating on her mother's ex-husband. I made them a deal that I would do the work for a flat fee of $200 up front. I got started on the case. What case? Going to your friend's store? In any case, I started the work, and the few days I put in on the case are worth more than $200. That's what you swore to. You did nothing. Nothing. So, why didn't you give it back to her?
Because she had people coming over to where I live at, threatening me on the phone.
Why didn't you just give her back the $200 or say to her,
because she
I'm
never
sorry,
said,
Miss Moore, I shouldn't have spent it before I did anything, but I spent it.
I told her that.
Did you tell her you would give it back to her?
I did tell her that.
Did you tell her when?
I told her to give me a couple of weeks.
So why, Mr. Mohammed, did you swear to, in your statement to me, that you had already done work on the case? Why didn't you just say, I told her that I would give her back her money, just give me 2 weeks, I didn't have it. Why didn't you write that in your answer?
Because I did tell her that. I did tell her I would give her the money back.
You didn't tell that to me.
Even though I initially had started, even though I contacted her 3 days in a row to contact her mother. I even met with her mother. Her mother came by and I talked to her mother.
You getting the whole thing?
I went to her house and talked to her mother.
You're getting the whole thing, right? All right, let's get to your counterclaim. So she bothered you. She called you 50 times a day.
No, she's sending people over to my house threatening me with terroristic threats, physical violence.
And that gave
That's
you an ulcer?
That's not how you go about getting your money.
That gave you an ulcer?
Well, what gave me ulcer was deciding, well, should I kill these people for threatening me over $200? Or should I try? Because people don't understand. Little small things start great wars. And these people were threatening me with physical violence about $200. I'm not no punk or pushover. So if they got to bring a life to take a life, my point is that they come to take my life, I'm going to take theirs, even if it's about $200.
Good. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $200. Your counterclaims dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, it's our excuse. Man, wait here.
The woman that's threatening to send people over and threatening me with physical violence, did she get in the court acting like she's an innocent victim?
The only time I sent anyone to his house was when he said he had the money, but he had no way to get to my house.
She could have stopped the terroristic threat.
That was his main excuse. I don't have a right.
Rule number one when dealing with the devil is don't.
I have not loaned anybody money since that day, and I won't do it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Colleen versus Bradford. Step forward, please.
23-year-old bartender Nita Kaleem is suing her former friend, 27-year-old furniture refinisher Terrence Bradford, for assaulting her during a night of drinking.
Miss Kaleem, how do you know the defendant?
Terrence Bradford was a friend of mine.
What does that mean, a friend of his? Was he a boyfriend?
A friend of mine, just an associate. We lived a block away from each other. If I wasn't working and he wasn't working, we'll call each other, go out.
It's your complaint that he assaulted you for no reason one evening when you were both drinking.
Right.
Mr. Bradford says that you were drunk and you went nuts and he was merely defending himself. So I want you to tell me when this happened, what kind of an assault it was, what your injuries were, and then I have a few other serious questions to ask you.
Okay.
When was it?
It was on September 11th of 2002.
Where were you and what were you doing?
I was in Terrence Bradford's home. We were...
Who else lives in his home?
His mother and I think his stepfather, his father.
Were they home?
His mother was home, yes.
Go ahead. What time of the day?
Around 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Come on, let me hear what happened.
Okay, what happened was... Terrence called me earlier that night. He was like, "What you doing?" I said, "Nothing, I'm not doing anything." "Well, let's go get some beer that he drinks." Now, this is like some strong beer, and I don't really drink like that. Every time I get with Terrence, I drink with him. And we were drunk that night. We were both drinking. And
in his mother's house?
In his mother's house, yes. And what happened was... I couldn't breathe. I was having difficulty breathing. All I remember was...
You were having difficulty breathing from what?
From, I don't know, I just couldn't breathe. I was on the bed. I remember him calling his mother, asking his mother, what's the matter with her? She's not breathing right. She's acting funny. I remember his mother saying that, you know, just get a cold rag or whatever. She's just been drinking a little bit. She'll be all right. Next thing I know, I'm standing in the kitchen with his mother. Then she has a towel to my head. I don't remember getting hit. I got hit 3 times, actually.
You just told me you don't remember getting hit.
No, I don't remember getting hit. But the way that I got hit, I have pictures if you want to see. I sustained a black eye, my nose was busted, and I have a scar on my head from where I got hit, where actually, if he did hit me, he had to have hit me at least a minimum of 3 times.
Maybe you fell off the bed.
No, I did not fall off the bed.
How do you know?
I did not fall off the bed.
Just a minute, Miss Kaleem. What you're telling me is that you were so drunk that you had no idea how you got bruised on your face. Is that what you're telling me?
That I was so drunk. We were drinking that night.
Just a second. No, just a second. If somebody hits you 3 times, severely enough to cause injuries, which you're going to show me in a second,
right,
and you don't remember how that happened, but you're surmising that from the photographs it came as a result of being hit 3 times, what you're telling me is that you don't remember being hit. Is that right? And if you don't remember being hit, you don't remember being hit because you were too drunk. You report him to the police?
No, I didn't.
Just a second. Is there any reason why somebody who has, can I have those pictures? Somebody who has this kind of injury that you claim was as a result of getting beaten by him doesn't report this to the police?
His cousin called me 2 days later. Terrence is sorry, please don't press charges on Terrence.
I'm not interested in that, and I'm not even hearing that.
Okay.
It's hearsay, it's meaningless,
okay.
I don't believe it.
Okay, okay.
You have that witness here today? That person who told you that he was sorry?
That's his cousin. I don't talk to anybody.
Listen to me. Do you have that person here today, Miss Kaleem?
No, I don't.
Good, then I'm not interested in what they have to say. Well, this certainly, Bird, do you think, and I want you to just take a look at this, you think that this mark could have happened if you fell off a bed?
It's possible.
Yeah, sure, anything's possible. All right, Mr. Bradford, tell me what happened.
When she came around my house, she was already a little drunk. So I said, let's go to the store get some more beer.
That was a smart thing to do. That was initially a smart thing to do, sir. So she was already a little drunk, and you said, let's go get some more. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Please. How old are you?
27.
The future of America. So she's already drunk. You said, let's go get some more beer, and I assume that you went in her car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you tell me in your answer. You got in her car. She was already drunk.
Yeah.
And you drove to get some more beer.
Mm-hmm.
Who drove?
I did.
Who drove?
Did I drive? Oh, I forgot. I don't know. I did
He's
drive.
lying. He's lying.
Miss Kaleem.
What am I lying
Miss
about?
Kaleem.
Lying
I don't want to
about
hear you.
everything.
I'm enjoying this,
Lying.
please. Go ahead.
After we got the beer, we went out Huntersville, on my old
You
neighborhood.
went what?
So after we got the beer, we went out Huntersville. It's a neighborhood. I used to stay out there.
What did you do? Just stay in the car and drink, or you went to friends?
Yeah, went to a friend's house, went to his house.
Okay, so you went to his house and you were drinking. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. We out there. We still drinking out there. After we get finished drinking the 40s, we started drinking some liquor. Then Nita started wilding.
She started what?
Wilding.
What is that?
Acting crazy.
I'm crazy.
Right. That I understand.
So I was telling her to calm down because the security guards out there. Oh, they calm down, Nita. They're gonna arrest you. So I threw her in the car, then went back to my house. I told my mom that she was in there breathing heavy. And then we went outside on the porch because I said she needed some air. And then she just snapped. Then I told her, I said, look, just get your stuff and go home.
So you're going to put her in her car, being as drunk as she was, and send her home?
Oh, she started snapping on me for nothing. I don't know why.
Can I say something?
No. Could you finish, please?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you would look like you were taking a nap. Get to how, if you know, she got these marks on her face. Would you tell me, please?
Okay. I threw her up against the wall.
Okay.
Then I told her to go home. Then I was walking out the door. Then she threw a bottle at me. I ducked it, then I hit her.
Where did you hit her?
In her face.
Is that the black eye she had?
Yeah.
Now, how'd she get this mark on her forehead?
I hit on the forehead, too.
Okay, good. And what did she do to you?
Nothing.
Nothing.
She threw the bottle at me.
She threw a bottle at you. What kind of a bottle did she throw at you?
A 40 bottle.
Do you have any recollection of that?
Ma'am, no. I never went out on the porch that night.
You were drunk.
We were in the bedroom. No, we were in the room watching TV and we were drinking. We had just came back from Huntersville that night.
Miss
I agree with
Kaleem,
that.
listen to me very carefully. Don't get drunk. How old are you?
22.
You don't get
23
drunk?
now.
Don't get drunk.
Okay.
That's the lesson. He got drunk. You got drunk. You don't remember what happened to you. He's honest enough or slow enough to tell me that he hit you 3 times, all right? That's honest. He hit you 3 times because he said you threw a 40 bottle at him. Well, that's really no excuse for hitting you 3 times. Maybe a push to get your way if you're drunk, but he was drunk too.
I mean, he wants to get drunk and be hitting on people for no reason because I couldn't breathe or whatever. That doesn't make any sense.
Where is your responsibility in all this? He's an idiot.
I don't have any responsibility
oh, you
in
don't?
any of this. That's
Oh,
what
you
I'm
do?
trying to say.
Oh,
if
listen
we're
to me.
friends and we go out
My
and
mouth
drink.
is moving, your mouth has to stop. Your responsibility to yourself as an adult is not to get so drunk so that you don't know what you're doing. You do have a responsibility. Because if he did, in fact, assault you when you had no responsibility, then you would have called the police and made a complaint, and he would have been arrested for assault because that's what he did. And the reason that you couldn't do that, even if you had wanted to do that, is because you were so drunk that you have no self-induced. He didn't order you to drink. He didn't compel you to drink. He didn't get you down on the floor and use a funnel and funnel it into your mouth. You went to his house on purpose for the express purpose of drinking. And I believe everything he says that you did arrive at his house already having consumed alcohol.
Okay, can I say one thing?
No.
He called
No.
2 days
What
later.
word? What part of no didn't you
apologizing.
understand?
How's
What
he gonna
part
apologize?
of no? What part of no didn't
right.
you understand? Because he's stupid and called you to apologize.
He agreed that he was going to pay for my medical bills.
Good. He
said
should
was
pay for
gonna
your medical bill.
For my one
Good.
day
Just
I
a
missed
second.
from work.
He should pay for your medical bill. Did you agree to pay for a medical bill?
Yes, ma'am. I told
Yes, you did. Good. And what was your medical bill?
$159.
That's what he's going to pay. Judgment for the plaintiff.
He
in the amount of
agreed- no, he agreed to
$159
pay for this, too.
outside.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He was drinking, he was drunk. I was drinking, I was drunk.
I was trying to calm her down.
I was not out of control that night.
I just didn't want to get in trouble, that's all.
Him hitting me, I don't remember any of that. And for him to do that was wrong.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Craiglow versus Donahue. Step forward, please.
Water equipment operator John Craiglow and his son, 12-year-old Josh, are suing Josh's schoolmate, 13-year-old Chris Donahue, and his stepmother, juvenile detention officer Tammy Donahue. Josh claims Chris pushed his face into a drinking fountain and broke his tooth.
Parents may be seated. Did this incident happen at a school playground or a park?
It was in the hallway while I was getting a drink.
Hallway where? In school?
Yes.
All right, Chris. He's getting a drink in school.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason that I assume you're going to tell me, you took his head and you pushed it down, causing his mouth to hit the spigot, causing his tooth to break. Correct?
Yes.
And why did you do that?
We were messing around in the hall.
What do you mean you were messing around in the hall? What does that mean?
We were messing around in the hall and...
I don't know what messing around means. Messing around could be making a mess. Messing around could be fooling around. And if it's fooling around, I want you to tell me exactly what that means.
We're fooling around in the halls.
Tell me how you were fooling around.
We're bumping each other and...
How are you bumping each other? With your hands?
Yeah, we're just pushing each other around a little, and then we went to go get a drink, and...
Then you both went to get a drink.
Yes.
Who got a drink first?
Me.
Did you get your drink?
Yes.
And then you stepped aside?
Yes.
And then he stepped up to the fountain?
Yes.
And is that when you pushed his head down?
He was getting a drink first, and then I hit his head.
I want you to listen carefully as to what you just told me. First, you're messing around, pushing each other around, fooling around. Is that right?
Yes.
Then you were thirsty.
Yeah.
And he was thirsty.
Yes.
So you got a drink.
Yes.
When you were finished getting a drink, you moved aside.
Yes.
And the very next thing that happened was he went to get a drink?
Yes.
And while his head was down was when you hit his head?
Yes.
Is that the story that your son gave you? Or was it some other story that you wrote in your answer?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Stand up. Now you can stand up. You'll answer my question. Is the scenario that your son gave to you when you asked him what happened the same one that he just gave to me, or was it slightly different?
Slightly different.
Well, I want you to rely on the fact that the one he just told me was the truth. Now, once we come to terms with the fact that the one he told me just now is the truth, you understand that he is responsible, and therefore you are responsible for paying his dental bills. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Good. Very, very foolish. Pushing, shoving, fooling around, messing around doesn't cause usually any injury. Do you understand that, Chris?
Yes.
You're supposed to be smart enough. How old are you?
13.
13. You're supposed to be smart enough at 13 that if you take somebody's head and you shove it down into a metal object, they could break a tooth, right?
Yes.
You weren't angry when you did it.
No.
No, you're just being stupid.
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $313. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
They agreed to pay the dental bills.
At first I had called the dentist office and made arrangements.
But then when the work was finished,
I don't understand why their dental insurance didn't cover it.
they didn't come up with their promise of paying the dental bills.
It was 50-50. I wasn't going to be responsible for the whole bill.
Fooling around, horsing around. If it goes too far, other people can get hurt. So you got to be careful.
We had a long talk with Christopher on horsing around in school and that's not the place for that to happen.
21-year-old data entry clerk Lorena Ayala is suing the mother of her ex-boyfriend's child, 19-year-old customer service rep Lisa Bianchi, for vandalizing her car.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 434 on the calendar in the matter of Ayala versus Bianchi. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
How old are you, Miss Ayala?
I just turned 21.
And you?
19.
And you have a baby?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is your child?
2.5.
So you had this child when you were 17?
I was 16, turning 17.
And the father of this child is one Joey?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a boyfriend whose name just happens to be Joey?
Yes.
One and the same.
Yeah.
Where is Joey today?
He's not present.
Miss Ayala, you claim that Miss Bianchi, in a little bit of a hissy fit, damaged your car by kicking it.
Yeah.
Miss Bianchi says, while you had a fight, she may have hit you, but she certainly didn't kick your car.
No, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm serious. Where is Joey? I mean, is he
He's-
working today? Is he?
He's watching my child, his son.
He's babysitting.
Yes, ma'am.
He managed to get time off from his job?
No, he doesn't work.
You want to tell me what happened, Miss Ayala?
Yeah, it all started when me and my boyfriend were driving in my car.
Your boyfriend Joey.
My boyfriend Joey were driving in my car, and then she started following us, and she wanted me to get out of my car, and I didn't want to step out of my car.
Well, you stopped your car.
Well, Joey was driving.
So Joey stopped the car.
Yeah, Joey stopped the car. We went to his grandma's house so his mom could come out and make her stop following us.
She followed you to the grandmother's house.
Yeah, and he honked for her to come out, and then that's when Lisa ran out of her car, kicked my car, and that's when I got out of my car. And then I was going to close my door, and that's when she kicked my car again, and that's when she tried to tackle me to the floor, and we just started fighting until his mom and him pulled her off of me.
Now I'll hear your version.
It was Thanksgiving morning. The whole reason why we were fighting, I had informed him that I was pregnant again. And we were in the process of supposedly working things out. So later on that night, my friend who was dating his cousin had called me and informed me that he was with her, Lorena, in front of his grandmother's house in her car. So I drove over there.
Why?
And just see what's going on. I told him I was pregnant, find out if he's with her. We were supposedly working things out. So I went, I found them there. She was sitting in her back seat of her car, putting on her shirt. He was sitting in her driver's seat, just with his tank top on. And I had asked her, I'm like, oh, so you guys just got done, you know, having sex.
Doing the nasty.
Yeah. And she's yes, I asked her, I'm like, you guys just got done having sex? And, well, not in those words, but, and she's like, oh, yeah, we were. And he wasn't saying anything. He was sitting there. You know, he knew he was caught.
Because he's a moron.
Yeah, exactly. He knew he was caught.
He's a moron who doesn't have a 2-year-old child that's going to be around forever and isn't pregnant again.
Yes.
Right? You're that moron. He's
Yes.
the other moron.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Me and her had words. We were both sitting in our car. I was sitting in my driver's seat. We both got out of the car at the same time and went at each other. And we're fighting for about maybe 2-3 minutes until Joey came, pulled me off of her. His aunt and his mom were then holding me back. He was holding her back.
Let me see damage to the car.
And they weren't holding me back. Just when she let me go, I let her go.
Did you ever hear of birth control?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why don't you use it?
Oh, I am now.
Very good. So you're making $35,000 a year. You have your own apartment. You have your own car. You have your baby taken care of. Your child is in school. You have a good job. You got your GED. You
And
finished
you're
your
married.
education. What's the matter?
And you're married.
And you, yeah. Oh, please. That would be terrific. That would be frosting on the cake. Did you try to get out these dents? Is that what these little holes things
No.
are that you tried to get out the
No,
dents?
I didn't try to do anything. I haven't done anything. And I went to go get estimate.
I'd see the estimates.
The top one is the one where my Nissan dealer told me to go to, and that's the one I'm taking.
Top one is the cheapest one, $1,513. Is that right?
Yeah, that's where my Nissan dealer
Miss
told me to go.
Bianchi, let me tell you sometimes what temper does. When you have a temper, you have to pay for it. This didn't happen to her car from nothing.
I understand.
Now, I don't care if this happened to her car as a result of the two of you struggling with each other and falling into the car, although that's not what this looks like.
No,
this
we
looks
didn't,
like a
we
kick.
didn't even come in contact with her car.
That's not true. No, we didn't. You did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't my intention to go and fight her.
Well, why didn't you just wait until he got finished and
I
call
wanted
him on
to
the
catch
phone?
him. I wanted to catch him.
Well, you caught him.
Yeah, I caught him.
And later today,
The dog comes running through my yard with teeth and everything and starts fighting Prissy. Ripped her ear. There was blood every place.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lorena Ayala says the mother of her ex-boyfriend's child, Lisa Bianchi, vandalized her vehicle. Lisa says she caught the father of her child and Lorena having sex in a parked car.
Miss Bianchi, you were so furious that day, which is why when I read your answer and you said you found out after Joey had been at your house and had talked the day before about getting back together again, blah, 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 somebody calls you up and said, you know where Joey is? Joey's over at our house. You get in the car. Where'd you put your baby when you got into the car?
He was at home with my mother.
Your mother takes care of your baby?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Well, what were you doing at home with your mother?
I lived there.
Well, so you left your mother to take care of your baby?
I asked her if she can take care of him, yes.
So you could go out and take care of this problem?
No, it wasn't my intention to go and fight her. It was my intention to go there and find out what was he doing with her. If he was with her, then why is he, you know...
Well, why didn't you just wait until he got finished and call him on the phone?
I wanted to catch him, so...
Well, you caught him.
Yeah, I caught him.
You caught him?
Yeah.
And once you caught him, then your adrenaline started to rush. That you have to pay for. Miss Bianchi, are you expecting this other baby?
No, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,513.73. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's been with me. We're not together, but I'm always going to be there. We'll communicate. He's the father of my child.
I was in the back seat. He was driving in the front seat.
Why would she be in the back seat? She was putting on her clothes.
I'm not going to be with them no more.
Don't fight over a guy anymore. They're not worth it.
And now the next case.
All parties in B. Miller versus Stewart. Step forward, please.
Linda and William B. Miller are suing their former friend, social worker Peggy Stewart, for an unpaid loan. Peggy claims she never borrowed any money.
Mr. and Mrs. B. Miller, it is your claim that you made 2 loans to the defendant, totaling in excess of $10,000. These loans were made some 2 years ago. One was a cash loan, well, not a cash loan, but a money loan in the amount of $6,000. And then, according to you, you paid 2 mortgage payments for her in excess of $5,000. Understanding the jurisdictional limitations of this court, you are suing for the maximum here, $5,000. Ms. Stewart says that there was never a loan, that while she did give you some money recently, small amounts, it was not to repay this loan, it was because you fell on some hard times and she was being generous. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So I want you to tell me when you made the $6,000 loan to her and show me proof by way of a check, a money order made out to her for $6,000.
There's a check payment on 10/24/2000 in the amount of $500.
I'm talking about $6,000.
They were 2 separate.
They're all separate checks, Your Honor.
Let me see.
This goes up.
Totaling $6,000.
Yes.
Over what period of time?
2.
3 months.
3 months. You endorsed these checks.
Yes, ma'am.
Those were rate break checks from off of a credit card.
You got what I'm saying to you folks? I want to see proof that you gave her a check that she cashed or a check made out to her. I see checks made out to cash that at some point somebody wrote loan Peggy Stewart in the corner.
Those were on there.
Yes, ma'am. She was given cash in the amount of $6,000, and I can explain why they are the way they are.
You can explain all you like, but if she says you never gave her this money, you don't get it back.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Honor.
Explain it.
She needed cash monies. I went to the bank. Peggy went with me. We went to the counter together. I made them out to cash. I made them out to myself. I endorsed them. I deposited them. I withdrew cash, and I handed it to Peggy.
Did you take the cash?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
That is not true, Your Honor.
What was the amount of the 2 mortgage payments?
$24.99. I'm not
Each
sure.
one?
I'm not sure exactly of the amount. They offered to make those payments in exchange for staying in my guest house at the time. We were living communally.
That's a lie,
at the
Your Honor.
time.
That's a
No,
lie,
it's
Your
not.
Honor. And we
They
have
stayed in my guest house because she stated that she was afraid of being alone. They used my utilities. They cooked in my kitchen. They used my food. They wanted to stay with us in our guest
Your
house.
Honor, that's not true.
Just a second. Just a second. That's baloney.
It's not true, Your Honor.
He said that. He said it's baloney.
Quiet! Now, they made almost $6,000 worth of mortgage payments for you. Did you pay them back?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because I didn't feel I owed it. She
Why not?
asked to pay for expenses. She induced me to accept her to pay these things. She didn't want me to go back to work. She wanted a companion at the time.
Are you serious with me?
Yes. I have documentation showing that she has a social phobia or an anxiety disorder. She
Well,
wanted
she may
to-
have a social phobia and anxiety disorder, madam, but that doesn't mean she's fiscally stupid.
Well,
I mean, she can't prove this loan to me.
yes.
But if they made 2 mortgage payments for you totaling $59.02,
Mhm.
and unless you can convince me that that was in lieu of rent or something else because they were staying in your guest house for a couple of months, then you owe them $59.02. Now, I would assume that you initially were going to take this case to a superior court, suing for the entire amount, which you claim is $11,000. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened with that lawsuit.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
We dismissed it because we were incurring too much monies continuously because it kept being continued. And it was kind of like,
We were told that
wasting.
we were spending good money chasing bad, that although we had...
How much money did you spend on that lawsuit?
To this date, $3,500.
That is not including the $3,500 that we owe.
So you spent $7,000 to collect 11. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
We never
Yes.
collected anything.
No, to collect it.
Yes, ma'am.
Pay attention.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Stewart, I assume that you were at some point friends. I read that you were co-workers. Is that right?
Yes, we were. We were co-workers.
And you both had sexual harassment claims
She
against your
lied.
employer.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, she lied, and she was very angry that I refused to testify on her behalf and perjure myself that she was raped by a co-worker whom she worked with and had a consensual relationship.
Listen to me.
Yes.
I would like you to just answer my questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how much did you get from this settlement?
I was told I couldn't disclose.
You have a non-disclosure in
Yes,
the...
I do, Your Honor. It was substantially more than...
I mean, it's in your answer. So I don't know who told you you couldn't disclose it. You disclosed it in your answer.
Oh, well...
It was a 6-figure number.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Okay. You owe them $5,000. My maximum jurisdiction is $5,000. You actually owe them $59.02 for the 2 mortgage payments that they made for you, and that's discounting the $6,000 loan, which they have no proof of. All I can tell you is, folks, if you do make a loan to somebody, don't be a jerk.
Right.
You know, you're supposed to get it in writing. You say, listen, I'd love to give you the money without a writing. Judge Judy Scheindlin says it's foolhardy, even if you're dealing with relatives, to give them money without a writing. That way everybody knows what the parameters are. Do you understand? You especially don't put yourself in a situation where you have checks written out to cash that you cash and want to 2 or 3 years later claim that this was a loan. Do you understand? Fortunately, if you made her mortgage payments and the mortgage checks were made out to her mortgage company, you don't have the same mortgage company, do you?
No.
Okay, that's all. Judgment for the plaintiff.
All is excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad to have that malingering frauder out of my life for good.
She got $110,000. The man at work, the same gentleman that raped 2 other women at our job.
She's a liar and a con artist.
We feel we've gotten justice finally. We thank Judge Judy.
I'm just glad to have her out of my life.
All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
How are you, Kevin?
Good, good. Case 2168, Gallen versus Webster.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gallen, you are a home health aide.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to any particular school or have any training to be a home health aide?
Well, I went to CNA nursing school, so I'm
CNA? What is
certified nursing assistant.
And you've been doing that for over a decade?
Correct.
Do you need any license in the state where you're from in order to be a CNA?
CNA, yes. Caregiver, no.
But you have a license from CNA?
Yes, ma'am, and also have a license for a medical assistant.
Now, there came a time when you answered some sort of an ad by Mr. Webster. Mr. Webster had a mother who was ill and needed some assistance in caring for her. Are you a working man, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a caterer and a DJ, and also a driver.
Do you get any salary from any of those jobs?
It ranges from job to job. We're building
Usually, how much?
For DJing, a couple hundred.
Couple hundred for how many hours?
It's basically by the job, the location, things of that nature. So it can vary.
Caterer.
Catering, we're building a family business, so basically getting started with it. Probably made as much as $1,800 before for a catering event. So again, it was brand new prior to the pandemic.
Okay, and what's your steadiest source of income?
Driving as of now.
How much do you make approximately an hour driving?
Now, probably $22 with the subtractions. For
$22 an hour?
Yes.
Is that with or without your tips?
That's with tips.
Did you always live with your mother?
I lived with her for quite some time.
Say within the last 10 years.
Within the last 10 years, I moved out 3.5 years ago. Due to illness, I was staying with her, so I was not really able to work. During that time, I went to school to become a caterer, cook, etc., culinary school, business school, because I did have aspirations to open a restaurant eventually, or a catering business eventually.
So you didn't live with your mother?
With her
I know
breathing.
it's COPD. It's a pulmonary disease.
You're better than me. Then there's also emphysema, along with some other things that I was not made aware of until she passed away.
How old was she?
68 years old.
A kid?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long was she bedridden? From when to when?
November 23rd until her death date of April 30th.
So all the time that the plaintiff took care of her, she was bedridden?
Yes, Your Honor.
And was your mother pretty strong-willed?
Yes, very much so, Your Honor.
And the COPD and emphysema was in all probability, at least in part, if not in all, attributed to her smoking.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, according to your complaint, Ms. Gallion, you worked for Mr. Webster in taking care of his mother, with whom he didn't live. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did anyone else live with her?
My son lived with her.
How old is he?
He's 29 years old now.
What does he do?
He was working at the time for Tesla.
He was, but he's no longer.
No longer.
But at this time, he was working for Tesla?
He was working for Tesla.
The whole time?
Yes, Your Honor. The whole
that
time
right?
from being released from the hospital up until her death day, yes, Your Honor.
Now, the house belonged to your mother?
Via rent, but yes, Your Honor.
She rented it?
Yes, Your Honor.
She was a rentor?
Yes, Your Honor.
So her grandson just stayed there with her?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he slept there, and you were supposed to come during the day?
Yes, Your Honor.
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Saturday.
Okay. Now, do you have the ad that you got from the defendant?
I do.
May I see it, Kevin, please? Thank you.
I also have the messages, Your Honor, from that ad.
Let me just read this. Okay, so you were asking for somebody good to take care of your mother because she was a great caretaker all of her life.
Yes, Your Honor.
From the federal government or the state?
From the state, if I'm not mistaken.
And you are from the state of?
California.
Well, this is what he wrote. So when you spoke to him with the same parameters of your employment as contained in his ad, that you would be working for IHSS for now, maybe more in the future. I don't know what that means. I assume it means that if it works out, you'd be paying her in addition to what she was making with IHSS.
No, Your Honor, I don't.
What does it mean? IHSS for now,
Yes.
maybe more. What does that maybe more mean?
I honestly can't recollect what that meant. I am aware that I did send that text message or that Facebook post.
Is there anything in any of the text messages you have that indicates what maybe more is?
Yeah, just verbally, he stated out of his mouth that anything extra, him and his son would pay out of pocket.
Okay, extra like what?
Extra hours, if the hours that I agreed to work to, if it needed to be extended, my traveling time, my toll from where I was driving from, he was supposed to
reimburse you.
Yes,
for.
ma'am.
Is that correct, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Now, you started working when?
February 24th was my first day.
From February 24th until April what?
23rd.
And that was 6 days a week?
It varied because depending on my schedule, so every other week I would work Monday through Friday, and then the additional weeks I'll work Monday through Saturday.
So it's between 5 and 6 days a week. And how many hours a day were you working?
5.
So when you came into work, was the grandson still there?
Sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't.
And if he wasn't, Miss Webster was alone?
Correct.
And when you left, was she alone?
Yes, ma'am.
And then hopefully the son came back to assist her at night.
From my understanding, there was another caregiver that was supposed to be there at nighttime, which I never saw, so I'm not sure.
Did you have another caregiver there at night?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who was that?
Her name was...
How long was she there?
You mean her work time or her duration of employment?
If you didn't fill out papers for her, then either she was working for nothing or she got paid from you directly. Before you answer me, you had a nighttime person who was hired at the same time the plaintiff was. Either she was paid from an agency, or she was paid from you, or she did it gratuitously. What was it? Had your son ever applied to be caregiver for your mother? Think carefully before you answer that question, because this one knows all. Had your son ever applied to be your mother's caregiver?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Oh, makes it so
Tracy Gallen claims her client, Ronald Webster, owes for unpaid wages.
Now, the agency, was she paid from an agency?
Yes.
Don't say yes if she was not. If she was not paid by the agency because she didn't get paid, then say she never got any money from the agency. And if you never filled out any paperwork, she couldn't have gotten paid by the agency.
Correct. Well,
why don't you just...
Let me rephrase that, because this is where the trepidation comes along. Neither of the caregivers were properly inputted into in-home supportive care system. So there's an allotment that is allowed where caregivers can work in hopes of having a large lump sum payment once they get their paperwork, background check, and everything else taken care of. So up until the 29th, no one had gotten paid because no one had their paperwork taken care of yet. So it's on the 29th when that starts to come about. So I personally never signed any paperwork for neither of the caregivers.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's what he's saying. Okay. So he signed no paperwork. And she worked for you from February to March, March to April, for 2 months. How much did you pay her in the 2 months that she worked there? Anything else?
Because I had a calendar DJing event. I was not fielding anything up until that point.
Mr. Webster.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
You seem like a nice man. It's going to cost you money. You can either make it easy or make it hard. From February to April, did your son work?
Yes, Your Honor. He worked at Tesla.
Then I'm not finished with you with that. Your son worked for Tesla. I assume Tesla paid him.
I'm assuming he got paid too, Your Honor.
And when you worked as a caterer, I assume you got paid.
I was not working as a caterer during that time, Your Honor.
Were you working as a driver during that time?
I did work as a driver during that time, Your Honor.
Did you get paid?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prior to the plaintiff getting hired and this other woman, had your son ever applied to be caregiver for your mother? Think carefully before you answer that question. Think very carefully, because this one knows all. Had your son ever applied to be your mother's caregiver?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Oh, makes it so easy. And when did he apply to be your mother's caregiver?
According to the information I have, which I was just made aware of.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a lot of... Your son is in your mother's house.
Yes.
You're there all the time because you're interested in your mother. You are the next of kin. You have to sign off. Did your son sign up to be your mother's caregiver, and when? Give me the month, day, and year that he signed up.
According to the paperwork I have, I'd have to look at it because I don't...
Look at it. You can look at it, digest it. Give me the date. See, Sarah, it's what's on paper doesn't always make sense, right?
Yeah.
You know?
You figure it out along the way.
Follow the money.
Yeah, always.
Always got to follow the money.
Leads you right to where you want to be.
Let's go.
According to the paperwork I have here, his paperwork was started on August of 2021.
When was it signed?
It does not state that.
And she started working in February. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So between August and something.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is not a House Select Committee investigation, sir. This is just a court where I'm trying to figure out who took care of your mother, who was unable to take care of herself from August until February when you got another caregiver, and whether that person was signed up to get in-home health benefits. So the answer is, partially I know that your son, who lives with her rent-free...
No. I'm sorry, not with my mother, not rent-free.
Lives with her.
Yes.
Maybe not, then maybe Kevin and I are paying the rent. You never can tell. I don't know how much, and I can't ask you how much money your son made between August and February, but maybe she got a little too difficult for him to deal with, because in stages of being sick that way, you require a lot more help than you want your grandson to take care of. And so you needed somebody else. Now, I've just about, Mr. Webster, reached the end of creating the picture in this case, but the plaintiff was there, and so far you've given her $100 in 2 months. You got paid during that time period,
Your son who worked for Tesla got paid during that time period. You can bet your bottom booty that I got paid during that period because I worked. Nobody said to me, well, you didn't get your form in right there. We're not paying you. Really, you're not paying me. You can find me today getting my pedicure. She stayed, even though she didn't get paid. Now, if she didn't work for you, could you or your son have gone out to do their other work? Or would you have left your mother alone? What would you have done?
Possibly made other arrangements, Your Honor.
Possibly. You mean get another son?
Okay.
Your counterclaim is stupid. You just told me before your mother is the kind of woman that would do exactly what she wants to do. And what you think yourself, since you're not there and off doing your thing, somebody who's terminally ill, not getting better. You knew that, right?
I did know that.
You did know that. And if your mother chose an easier way to go than the one you selected for her, that would have been her prerogative. That's also a fair statement.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you didn't like the caring that she did for your mother, but actually her leaving had to do with your not paying her. You didn't fire her. Okay, let's put it this way. Did you fire her?
No, Your Honor, because I did not have the power to do so.
You did not fire her.
No, Your Honor.
That's not
Who
true,
put in,
Your Honor.
Who is Ron Webster?
I am Ronald.
You hired her.
No, Your Honor.
Well, this is you. Need a good caregiver for my mom. Need. That means I need.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, let's go to one other place. Okay? And then I'll let you talk. Right now, it doesn't seem to be that you're losing, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
In March, Miss Gallen, where's my money? You know, I'm taking care of your mom. There's no money. What does he say?
He kept blaming it on IHS. He needed to talk to them, and IHS just kept responding to me and was just like, he's crazy.
Tracy Gallen is accusing her client, Ronald Webster, of refusing to pay her after caring for his mother. Ronald claims Tracy smoked cigarettes and marijuana while working.
How much do you think the time that she worked there, taking care of your mother, was worth?
Your Honor, I personally cannot put a price on that. I know she's contracted through IHSS for $16 per hour.
Did your mother have a life insurance policy?
My mother had a couple of life insurance policies, yes.
What were they, and who were the beneficiaries?
I was a beneficiary
of one.
both of
How
them.
much?
The total was $3,700, Your Honor.
Did she have a separate policy for her burial?
No, Your Honor.
Did she own any property anywhere?
No, Your Honor.
So what was the total you received from the estate?
The policies was $13,000.
$13,000.
Total. Okay.
How much did you pay for the internment, the service, if there was one, whatever? How much did you pay? You paid for it, I assume, out of this money.
I have not done all the math. It's upwards of $15,000 or so. As I'm still
haven't done all the math.
I'm still
Fine.
making payments.
How much are you owed?
I have it there, 26. The whole breakdown is,
And that's,
the amount was $29.12 minus the
that's-
$300.
You say he gave you $300, not $140.
Correct.
Okay.
He cashed at me $300.
My question is that at $16 an hour?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is what you would have made.
Correct.
Do you have any other evidence to support the fact that he was helping you or that he agreed that this money was due and owed to you?
I have the email here where he was asking me to send a total of hours what he owed me.
Yeah, I see that, Kevin, please.
And then this is also the payment that he did pay me, the $300.
Well, this is from you.
Yeah, he asked me to send that to him because he kept acting confused.
But this is from you to him.
Correct.
Can I see your answer to this when she sends you this document?
I don't have that email.
Well,
and
do you have?
I'm not sure if there's an answer. I could check my phone.
No. Okay. Now, in March, Miss Gallen, where's my money? You know, I'm taking care of your mom. There's no money. What does he say?
He kept blaming it on IHS. He needed to talk to them, and IHS just kept responding to me and was just like, he's crazy. I don't know why he keep reaching out to us. We keep repeating the same thing.
He said he never
has to
filled
pay
out
you.
forms.
Also, this is the contract that he signed stating that I am the IHS provider. If there's any extra fees, to sign that with IHS first to approve me even being the worker for his mom. So once they approved me and I went through orientation, he signed that. He would be responsible for the hours. I kind of marked it on there where it states that this is the contract and this, you know, this is what comes with it. Also, here are the timesheets I submitted.
Okay. Not necessary. He acknowledges that he didn't pay you any more than He says 100, you said 3. That's actually in your favor. $2,612. I suggest you take it out of the $13,000 that you received from your mother's life insurance. I'm sure she would like her caregiver paid, the one who took care of her in the last couple of months of her life. Your counterclaim, which is ridiculous, is dismissed as for the reasons I already said. The fact that the defendant may have either smoked with or allowed your mother to smoke in the last couple of years of her life is ridiculous. You know, you're the one who said to me, my mother is my mother is my mother. She'll do what she wants to do. Not something like that. Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're done. So's your counterclaim. $2,600.
This court is adjourned.
You know, my mom's death, I've been doing everything I can to make sure that she was taken care of. And, you know, it's unfortunate.
I'm really happy with the decision today. I was glad that she was able to see through all the lies and everything.
The plaintiff would give her cigarettes to stash for her so she would not overindulge herself smoking cigarettes.
Yes, I would go and get her the cigarettes because that was her last thing that she wanted, so.
At best, while taking care of my mom, she did a pretty good job with that. I've never denied that. I've also wanted her to get paid.
Just blamed it on IHHS and just there was no really reason for him not to pay me at all.
I've been ready to put it behind me. This has been a nightmare since my mom's death and right before that. So I'm certainly glad to get it behind me.
I really did give her the best care that I could, you know. She was happy. She was very happy, so I'm okay with everything.
Cases like this are sad, but it really shines the light on the whole sector that is elder law. And there's so many federal and state programs to make the elders with the most vulnerable population. And like you were just talking about, your mother is the one that you rely on for a majority of your younger years, you know, to keep you alive, bathe you, feed you. And towards the end, it's just unfortunate that they don't receive the same care as we do in the beginning.
Yeah, that not being watched as carefully by the people that they cared for.
Yeah, but the plaintiff here surprised me. I mean, working 2 months, 5 days a week.
And she stuck with the job.
For no money and no real end in sight for when she was going to be paid. I respect her for that. She obviously cares about her business and about her craft as being a healthcare worker, so I appreciate that. But it shouldn't fall on kind-hearted people like that to take care of our elderly.
Maybe. Not sure. Yeah. I think that not everybody is fortunate enough to have children.
Yeah.
If you have children that fit into that mold. And I think that it's wonderful that the state, for those people that don't have loving families to support them if they're sick or elderly, for the state to provide a mechanism for those people to get from their bed to a bathroom, to another room, to a meal, perhaps. I think it's wonderful. I think that this country, Sarah, can't do everything.
Yeah.
And I know that we discussed a moment ago, not bringing in another case, but to me, when you don't give money to somebody who did work in the betterance of society, and you send stimulus money to prisoners who are there because they did something wrong, and you send $1.2 billion in stimulus money to people who are serving life terms in prison, to me, doesn't make sense. But perhaps somebody will straighten me out.
All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2188, Slaniger versus Hoovener.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Sanaker, is this your boyfriend?
Hi, yes. This is my boyfriend and the father of our 2-year-old child.
Okay, you could stand up with her. In addition to a 2-year-old child, you also had 2 dogs. Where were you living at the time of this incident?
So we were living in our house.
In your house where?
In Redford, Michigan.
Do you own the house or rent it?
We rent it.
Are you still living there?
Yes, we are.
Do you work?
No,
You're not, the answer is no.
I'm a writer. I'm also 2 months pregnant too, so.
The question is, do you work and make a living?
Yes.
At what?
Writing.
Okay. Who do you write for?
Myself, self-publishing.
Well, how much money did you make last year self-publishing?
0.
0.
Yeah.
So the answer is, you don't work and you don't make any money. And what about you, boyfriend?
I currently, at the moment, am a custodian for the Hills School District.
Okay, and how much do you earn?
I earn $16.50 an hour.
And what's your rent?
It's $14.45.
Who pays it? There's no question you don't.
He does.
I do.
Impossible. Not at $16 an hour.
Our brother currently lives with
What?
my brother lives with us as well, so we have a roommate. That's how we pay for it.
And he pays some of the rent?
Yes.
Is your rent current?
Yes.
And you have a car?
I do.
So you have car and insurance. You have a
do.
car? Well,
I
somehow
do.
you're very economical. Now, you had 2 dogs. You had financial hardship, according to your complaint, and you could no longer take care of the dogs. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What kind of dogs were they?
I got him from a breeder back in 2021. It was probably December 2nd of 2021.
And what was the other dog?
The other dog, her name was Danny. She was a purebred golden retriever puppy that we had purchased October 7th, 2022. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how much did you pay for the Border Collie?
We paid $500 for the Border Collie.
I'm still figuring out how you're all budgeting. And how much did you pay for the Golden Retriever?
We also paid $500 for the Golden Retriever.
Where did you get the money from?
A tax return.
So let me understand this. You have a 2-year-old baby?
Yes.
You have a 2-year-old baby. You got tax returns from the only income from the house, which is his, where he earned $16 an hour. And what you did was you spent $1,000 of your tax return on 2 dogs. I just am clarifying that in my own mind. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a right. Okie dokie. When you could no longer either physically and or financially take care of the dogs, you put an ad on the internet. What part of the internet?
We put the ad on Craigslist and Hoobly.
Craigslist and?
Hoobly.
It's like another Craigslist type online.
You have a copy of the ad?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them. Needs a new home, call for details. The other is the 1-year-old Border Collie Aussie mix, and you had rehoming fee of $200.
Yes.
Okay. This says absolutely nothing about fostering short term, you get the dogs back, nothing. And no other criteria in here.
Yes.
Nothing. So this is your complaint. The defendant answered your ads. You brought the 2 dogs over to her. She gave you $100.
Yes.
Yes. You left the 2 dogs with her. You were on your way back to wherever you lived, in the car, and according to you, you had a change of heart.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
And you called her and you said to her, we're coming back.
Yes.
How long did that process take you?
It was within the 2 hours we had left.
So within 2 hours, you called her and said, I changed my mind.
Yes.
And what did she say to you?
She had said that she had given the dog away.
One of them?
One of them, yeah.
Okay. She said, I gave the dog away. Did she tell you to whom? Did she tell you what circumstances? Did she tell you?
She said that she had given the dog to a lady named Cindy, and she mentioned that she gave this Danny to...
You have text messages? Is what you're reading from text messages?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a text in the evening, and she says to you, my friend is traveling back to Tennessee now with my friend Cindy. Now, you went back to the house and you picked up one of the dogs.
Brianna Sloneker claims her buyer, Charity Hoovener, wrongfully gave away a golden retriever after promising to keep the puppy.
Now, you went back to the house and you picked up one of the dogs.
Yes.
Courage. And did you give her back the $100?
No,
That's either yes or no.
No.
Why not?
Because she kept the other dog, Danny, which was a purebred golden retriever. The condition was to have both dogs together.
Okay, show me where that is. Show me something in writing where that was a condition. It certainly wasn't in your ad. It certainly wasn't in your ad, which just said you needed to find new homes for both your dogs.
It was.
Did you ever say anything to the defendant about getting a better offer for the golden retriever?
No.
Yes.
Did you ever say anything to the defendant, either on the phone or in a text, that you believed that you could get more for the golden retriever because you had paid $500 for it as a puppy. This was just a couple of months later. It was still a puppy. I'm asking you, did you say anything to her about being able to get more money for her?
No, I did not. We want our dog back because of our other dog, Courage. And
what makes you think you can have the dog back?
Well,
you made a deal. She paid you $100. You took the $100. You didn't return the $100 to her. One of the dogs was already rehomed to yet another person. She gave you the dog.
Because it was in a verbal condition to keep the dogs together.
Absolutely not.
Shh.
Sorry.
It was a verbal condition to keep the dogs together. They were a bonded pair, and she said that if we wanted to, we could.
In what month did you sell the dogs to the defendant?
It was December 4th, 2022.
12/4. Now, you got, according to you, the golden retriever in October of 2022. So you had, at most, the dogs together for 2 months.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's not a bonding experience. How old was the golden retriever?
She was 2 months old when we got her.
So she was 4 months old?
Yes.
Well, you certainly could have gotten more than $100 for her. She must have been really desperate for that $100.
I really just want my dogs together.
Well, they're not together. Then you should have thought of that before you put ads here. You changed your mind. That's it. You changed for whatever reason. You felt sad in the car going home. Or she's going to tell me that you had a conversation with her that involved money.
No.
I'm ready. All I want to know from you at this point is, and it's really not dispositive of this case, but it was in your answer. Did you ever have a conversation after she dropped the dogs off about money?
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation. When was it? Was it in the car? Or
It was by my door, by my side door.
When? At what point in this? When they came back? Or
when they came back, she said, I got offered a lot more money for this dog. I think you're a scam artist. And I want what's due. I want the rest of my money.
What the rest of your money?
No. I don't know. Could have.
She certainly could have gotten more money for the golden retriever than the $100 that you gave her for both dogs.
Yes, for both.
But she accepted the $100 and she never returned the $100. That's it. Finished. What?
Your Honor, I wanted to keep Courage, and my friend here, Cindy, took Danny.
Oh, so you have the other dog?
I do, yes.
I have the other dog. Well, step up. So you were going to Tennessee?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Tell me about the conversation that you had with Ms. Hovner.
Yes.
On the date that they dropped the dog off.
Okay. She had called me and let me know that
well, first of all,
I believe is her name, was going to drop the dogs off.
When did you have this discussion?
That was on the 4th, on December 4th, 2022. She called me, I would be guessing, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 5 in the afternoon, and told me that, I think her name's Brianna, was going to be dropping the dogs off.
For $100.
For $100, and she asked me, do you have, $100? And I said, well, sure.
So you gave her $100?
I gave her $100 to give, yes.
Brianna.
And I was waiting, and she was running just a little late. We was going to Tennessee. We had to get diapers and stuff. So
Okay. Now, when had you discussed with her the $100 for both dogs?
Over the phone, Your Honor.
Tell me about the conversation.
The conversation went, we had discussed the $100 for both Courage and
Do you
Danny.
have that in texts?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Not all of them, just
not all of it.
Just the one that she's asking about.
Yeah. How is the dog?
She's doing really good. Yeah, I got her to the vet. She's growing. Oh, she 2 weeks ago was her last shots, and she's already 41 pounds. She's just growing like a weed. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read this to you. I am trying hard to come up with $100 more, dear. I have 100. And you respond to her, okay, we're just going to have to feed them bread until somebody buys them. Then she answers you, I will come up with the rest. You were just feeding these puppies bread?
Brianna Sloneker is accusing her buyer, Charity Hoovener, of giving away a golden retriever hours after purchasing the puppy.
Now, you respond to her, okay, we're just going to have to feed them bread until somebody buys them. You were just feeding these puppies bread? That's what you wrote here. Who wrote this, you or him?
I wrote it.
And I would assume that your life circumstance hasn't changed. You're still not working, and he's still working for $16 an hour.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And at that point, back in December, what you said was, I can only afford, in effect, I can only afford to feed them bread until somebody buys them. What's changed in your life? What's changed in your life financially that you think that that you should be able to stretch?
Kenyon was jobless at the time, Your Honor.
What?
Yes.
He was jobless in December.
Yes.
You still took your tax returns and bought a dog for $500. Duh. She says to you, oh, they are both really fantastic dogs. And you respond, absolutely they are. It was a nice chapter to have them. Now their fate is with you or wherever their life journey takes them. Glad you have them now. That's what you wrote.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. I'm probably going to fall madly in love. Anyway, then you changed your mind, and they reached out to Pause Organization and had a chat about last night. Your suspected buyer is being rude to us, and we want our dog back. What's a Pause Organization? What is that?
When we had met her at her house, I was a little uneasy about giving her the dog and taking into consideration the area we live in Metro Detroit. There's a lot of dog fighting there, so I had to be sure that she was trustworthy. So she had mentioned to me that she is a part of the Pause Organization, which is a animal-friendly organization.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You say, now you want the dog back, and you say, option A, you pay us our asking price for the dog. What was your asking price? This is after you already got the $100. Okay. So now, after you got the $100, left the dogs with her.
Sorry.
Option A, you pay us our asking price for Danny. Or option B, we call our lawyers and take you to court.
Yes, I at the time wanted her to pay the remaining balance of Danny, how much we had bought her for, $500.
So you wanted more money for the dog?
Yes.
Okay, well, you can't have it. You've already made your bargain. Your case is dismissed. We're done here. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think that there's a lot of evidence, a lot of things that was left out and unsaid.
I thought the judge's decision was fantastic.
I just feel like everything wasn't said properly. That's probably on our part. I don't think it was necessarily fair, but that's her decision.
Cindy and I wanted the best interest in these dogs.
It just didn't feel right, so immediately we went back to get the dogs and keep them and bring them home.
It was about money.
Just stick it out next time. Don't trust everybody.
I just feel as if these dogs were not taken care of.
I hope she does have a good home.
You know, the sadness of that whole case for me, Sarah, is the mindlessness of these two young people. I don't know where they got the $500 during that 2-year period, an extra $500 to pay for each dog. Mm-hmm. I can only speculate. When I speculate, I say to myself, based upon my common sense, neither one of them look like they're robbing a store.
No.
So I have to say to myself, you know who bought them those dogs? The president. Because the only time you get that kind of chunk of money was it your stimulus or extended something. But even if the process goes into buying 2 expensive dogs.
And
want
big
a dog?
dogs.
And big dog. Well, one of them was a big dog. One of them was a substantial sized dog. Then you have a 2-year-old baby and you're going to feed the dogs bread. So what do? You have another baby. That makes sense. Makes perfect sense. And I guess I get so excited about it because based upon my history, it's always the children that end up suffering.
I knew you were going there. And it's true.
Yeah.
You're feeding a dog bread and think that that's an appropriate way to take care of an animal and trying to get it off your plate. The first thing I would be doing is making sure I didn't sign up for another child financially responsibility-wise.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Cut the baby's formula with water so that you can stretch it? I mean, they both look like they could use a good meal. I don't understand. I just don't understand the thought process. And it's always the innocents that suffer. Because even the dogs are innocents. Clearly, the babies. But clearly, the dogs are innocents. You know, they just want to be fed and have a home with, you're not a 4-month-old puppy eating bread until they can find somebody that can give them something more nourishing. It's absolutely outrageous and irresponsible and tragic. That's what I think. Life isn't getting any different from what it was 40 years ago. It just stays the same.
Well, at least the golden retriever is in a good home, goes to the vet, hopefully is getting fed real dog food. So there's a bright side or a silver lining in the end of that. So.
Right. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2177, Bazine versus Adams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bazine, you had a job as a dental assistant. Is that right?
Yes.
And you went to school for that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you go to school?
Medical Institute.
Did you graduate?
Yes.
I gather you didn't like it.
No.
I say that because you didn't stay in that career path for very long. Just for my own curiosity, I come from a long family of dentists. Tell me why you didn't like being a dental assistant. Had to be a reason.
Cleaning people's teeth and having them fight you and tell you that they don't have cavities when they do.
You didn't like the whole experience?
Yeah, all the explaining you have to do.
Okay, got it. Wasn't for you.
No.
You've got it in your hip pocket should you ever need it again, right?
Yeah.
You have the degree. In any event, the defendant was a patient of yours. She came in as a patient?
Yes.
And you got to know each other, according to you. And she offered you a job at a place that she manages. You managed a store? What kind of store?
It's in a plant store, so we sell scratch and dent appliances.
When was that?
Oh, geez. This had to have been in May.
May of 2022?
Correct.
Is that when you started working in the store?
I started July 3rd.
That was your start date? And what were your duties?
Sales rep, she taught me how to sell the scratch and dent appliances, how to run the store and help her manage it. I was making more commission, so I did take the job besides the dental office.
So you worked in the dental office too?
No.
You left the dental office?
I left the dental office so I could pursue more money.
Okay. And you did make more money?
Yes.
There came a time, according to what I read in the complaint, that you, Miss Adams, asked the plaintiff to do...
We're at home lunch because they were on school break. She offered to go.
How old are your children?
16, 13, and 10. She offered to go in my place that she wanted a break. She clocked out for her lunch. I gave her money to go, 1, pick up the food, and 2, a little bit of gas money. She then went to my house.
Just a minute, we're not there yet. She clocked out for her lunch break.
I was clocking out at work.
Shh. And you're the store manager?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long do you get for a lunch break?
An hour.
That's an hour during the day. That's yours.
Correct.
Now, from the store where she was, where she clocked out, to the place where she was supposed to pick up lunch for your children, how far was that? Because you said you gave her gas money, so it wasn't around the corner.
15 minutes away.
And how far from this place where she got the food is your house?
Right down the road.
5 minutes.
Not even 2.
2 minutes, 17 minutes. And then she's got to get back.
Correct.
So that's almost 40 minutes.
Correct.
Out of her 1 hour lunch. So she was doing you a favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why don't you just say that? So you made me go through this whole exercise. It was more than half her lunch. It gave her 15 minutes for lunch. She was doing you a favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she ask you to do her this favor?
Yes.
Tell me how she asked you to do her this favor.
Wouldn't go through when we were ordering the food. I was already on my way home. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I was ready to go. She said, go ahead, here's some money, deliver the food to the children. Thank you for your help.
Did you have to pick up the food?
Yes.
Okay, she gave you money.
The drive-through, sat home anyway.
Oh, so step back. Did you order food
I
to send
did,
to your
and
kids?
it did not go through.
Okay, so you ordered food to get there. And this was lunchtime.
Correct.
And how did you find out that they canceled?
They sent me a notification to my phone.
To your phone?
Correct.
And what time was that?
1 o'clock, 1:15.
Had you already taken your lunch break?
No, ma'am. Most days I do not.
So you're in the store all day?
I am.
Well, then it would seem to me she had to find out that they canceled because you said that they sent the note to you.
We work right next to one another.
I know, she wasn't looking over at your phone.
Right.
She wasn't looking over at your phone. If you work right next to each other, common sense would dictate you said something, oh, whatever. Well, what expletive you used, they canceled my order.
Correct.
Could you take stuff to my kids for lunch?
I was going to do it. She offered.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said. You stay in the store all day. Now you thought about it and you thought about your defense and you did, in fact, according to you. Just remember something, because here's $20. Would you take the food, drop it off with the children? And in addition, voila, you said to her,
please do not go in my house. My dog is aggressive.
Mila Bazin claims her former employer, Sarah Adams, owes for injuries from a dog bite. Sarah is countersuing for harassment and slander.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said. You stay in the store all day.
Yes.
Okay.
But on
and
this
she was ready to leave.
No, so she was leaving for her lunch.
No.
I was going to leave and take the kids' food. Mila stated she wanted to go out of the store. She needed a break. So I told her, okay, if you want to clock out.
She was doing me a favor because I wanted to get my 16-year-old lunch that she couldn't get for herself.
Correct.
Right. That she couldn't walk around the corner and get for herself or open the freezer and put it in a toaster. Right?
Right.
Okay. So you had one of your subordinates go to your house and deliver the food. That's the bottom line. You had one of your subordinates, because you were in the store where you stay all the time, you had one of your subordinates, gave her $20, here's a little gas money for you, go pick up the food and bring it to the house. By the way, your 16-year-old doesn't get around?
No, she's not driving it.
She walks.
Correct, but I don't like my children to leave the house.
In the middle of the day, 1 o'clock?
Correct.
Okay.
Not in this world that we live in.
Okie dokie. Anyway, here's $20. Thank you. Did you say anything else to her?
No.
Has she ever been to your house before?
Not at that time, no.
Prior to giving her money and say, could you pick up the food and drop it off, she had not been to your house before.
Correct. I did state to her before she left.
Just a second. She had not been to your house before.
Correct.
Now you thought about it and you thought about your defense and you did, in fact, according to you, just remember something, because here's $20. Would you take the food, drop it off with the children? And in addition, voila, you said to her,
please do not go in my house. My dog is aggressive.
And that's why
I did tell her to call me when she got there. I would call my daughter, have her go out and get the food. And Your Honor, I do have a video of my Ring doorbell of what happened.
I'm going to watch that.
Okay.
Because what happened was there was a lot of food.
I told her, do not go in my house.
And she was bitten by your pit bull.
Yes, in my home.
She wasn't trespassing in your house, madam. She wasn't burglarizing your house. She was bitten by your pit bull. That's
right,
what the case is about.
She was told not to go into my house.
If I believe you.
I have evidence.
I'm going to look at it.
Okay.
If I believe you, whether I believe you or not, she was bitten in your house by your dog. How old is your pit bull?
7 years old.
Where did you get her?
From the pound.
So you went to get food. You took your car and you went to get food. And you picked up how many bags of food for the 3 children?
There's at least, I think, 2 bags, or 1 big bag, and then 2 drinks. 3 drinks in total. I had to carry 1 drink back in behind April. I should have waited in the car. But
now, why should you have waited in the car? Why?
Now that I've been bitten, I say that.
Well, what would have made you think that you should be waiting in the car?
No reason.
Did Miss Adams say to you when you left?
No, Your Honor.
Text me when you get there, my daughter will come out?
Yes, to make it easier for me, but not because she told me she had a killer dog.
Did she tell you she had any dog?
No. I knew of one little dog, her little Mookie, her baby Chihuahua dog.
Your Honor, I bring a dog with me to work every day.
That you just got while I was working there.
Just a second. Don't interrupt. She said she knew of one little dog, a Pekingese. That's all you knew about.
I knew of her Chihuahua at the time. The Pekingese came later. She inherited her dad's dog, but all I knew of was her little Mookie Chihuahua. I also have a Chihuahua. I thought we both had Chihuahuas. I would not go to anyone's house if they had a killer pit bull. Pit bulls, period.
Okay, you picked up the food, you got to the house, what did you do?
April came out to the car, grabbed what she could. I had the remainder drink. I got up and followed Miss April inside the house. Once we got to the door...
Is April the 16-year-old?
Yes.
That's you?
Mm-hmm. Once she stepped inside, I stepped in behind her. She turned around to grab it. And
5?
No.
None of them?
No.
And do you live in a rural area, or are there stores there?
There's some stores down
What
two
kind?
streets.
Oh, yeah, what kind of stores?
A grocery store.
Yeah. So if you wanted to and you were hungry, you would have gone to the grocery store and gotten something for lunch. Is not an answer.
Yes.
So on that day, let me make sure what day we're talking about here. July 18th. On July 18th, you and your siblings were home for the day?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about the conversation you had with your mother about ordering lunch.
My siblings were hungry and wanted something new, so I asked my mother.
You called your mother at work?
Yes, I called my mother at work to ask if she can order some food.
What time did you call your mother?
It was around 1.
And that's all you said to her? And what did your mother say?
She said yeah.
She said yes, but she must have also said, what do they want? I mean, they didn't want to go to the grocery store, so she said, what do you want?
She said, I can order McDonald's, and I said, that's fine.
She said, I can order McDonald's, and?
And I said, that's great, that's okay, thank you for doing that.
Okay. Now, she called you later to tell you that they had canceled the order.
Yes.
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 And what did she say when she said they canceled the order?
She said that Milo was coming over to drop off the food, and she already told her about...
No, don't make things up as we're going. Be very careful when you talk to me.
Yeah.
She said Mila is on her way over with the food.
Yes.
Now, Mila came over, she pulled her car up in front of your house.
Yeah.
And by step, she got out of the car?
No.
She stayed in the car?
Yes.
And you took a bag?
I took all I could, 2 bags and a drink.
Okay, but that wasn't all the food there was?
Yes, I told her I would come back for the rest.
Did she say that to you?
No, Your Honor.
I didn't hear you say to her when she turned around, stay out there. I didn't hear you say that to her. Do you understand? I didn't hear you, and I heard everything. Say that to her. She had one drink that she was going to give you, and she actually leaned over to give it to you.
Mila Bazin is accusing her former employer, Sarah Adams, of refusing to pay for injuries caused by her pit bull. Sarah claims Mila already agreed to a $300 settlement.
Now, she got out of the car?
No.
She stayed in the car?
Yes.
And you took a bag?
I took all I could, 2 bags and a drink.
Okay, but that wasn't all the food there was?
Yes, I told her I would come back for the rest.
Did she say that to
No,
you?
Your Honor. I was just nice and got out of the car and followed her.
Yeah, you didn't have that much of a discussion. It doesn't make sense that you had that much. So there was a drink left?
Yes.
So she was walking in following you with the 1 drink?
No.
She didn't follow you into the house with the 1 drink?
Not until later.
What do you mean not until later? What happened in between the fact that you grabbed the food and 2 drinks, there was a drink left, now she's out of the car.
I didn't realize she was out of the car. I thought she would stay under the car. So I'm walking over to the house to open the door.
Okay. Now, I want you to point to some place in this room where the car was and where your front door was. Make believe I'm the car. Point to some place in this room. If it has to be more, you can say it's twice that distance. Twice the distance from the front and the back of the courtroom, or half the distance, or it's the same distance. How far is it from the car?
Far away.
Where?
Where those...
So maybe 20 feet.
Yes.
Now I'm going to look at your video.
Got it?
Give me a towel.
I'm so sorry.
Give me a towel, hurry.
I didn't hear you say to her when she turned around, stay out there. I didn't hear you say that to her. Do you understand? I didn't hear you, and I heard everything. Say that to her. She had one drink that she was going to give you, and she actually leaned over to give it to you as you were in the door. I didn't hear you say anything to her. Stay outside, don't come near here. That's a long walk. I didn't hear you. Is that because you didn't say it?
No, before the video, when I went to get, she was inside.
Oh, we're going to hear it again. We're going to go right from the beginning. I heard you speak to your brothers. You turn around, you saw her walking in after you. Okay. Anyway, Miss Bazin, as a result of this dog bite, according to you, you had some serious medical issues. It became infected, couldn't work for a period of time. Do you have any of the medical records?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at them.
I have them, the bill and the records. You want just the records?
Yeah, both.
Color coordinated white paper clips.
Does the job that you had give you health insurance?
So I have access with Arizona, and they pay up a percentage of it, but not everything.
Do you have what is left over that is your
So they wouldn't give me until the end of the year, I guess, but that's what they billed me, and they keep calling me every day saying I have.
Your Honor, I have a text message from Mila saying that she had unlimited health insurance
That's what
and
I
they can
thought.
bill her for whatever she wants. I would like
Before I
to
knew I
present
was
that
going
for
into
you.
surgery.
Let's try not to talk to each other.
Also, Mila went to the hospital 4 times, and I have records of all of that and what they did each time per her text messages.
Yeah.
And I have pictures of the bite when it happened, if you'd like to see that as well.
She has it. You don't have to prove her case. I'm sure you have pictures.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure. How long were you on antibiotics?
For at least almost like 2 months off and on. I had to go back multiple times and have it.
Said you have, is the company aware of the fact that you had a pit bull?
Yes, and it is extremely hard to find a place to rent with a pit bull.
No, I didn't ask you that. I asked you whether your insurance, your renter's insurance, had a provision that excluded the insurance from a pit bull bite.
I do not recall, no.
What state do you live in?
Arizona.
What's the name of the company?
It's through our insurance on the car. I'm not 100%.
Did you notify them of this dog bite?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because she even said it was her fault.
It wasn't her fault. It was your fault. You had the dangerous animal.
How is it my fault?
Just a
I
second.
told her not to go in my house.
Don't ask me any questions, madam, and I'm going to tell you something. Based upon that video, there's no indication that you told her, don't go into my house.
I told her at work.
Listen to me. Based upon what I saw, if you knew that you had a dog that was territorial and she shouldn't go into the house, then you, when you speak to your daughter who is too lazy to go to the grocery store, say to her, I have one of my employees that I'm sending with your food, which is exactly what happened. You would have said to her, make sure that you take the stuff from the car. And she wouldn't have, unless she's an idiot, she wouldn't have, when she saw the plaintiff coming up with the extra drinks, she would have said, do me a favor, just stay out here, put them down on this shelf where I put the other drinks. Don't walk into the house. She said nothing. She walked into the house and, in effect, held the door open so that she could deliver the other 1 or 2 drinks for your children. That's what...
Matthew Klinghoffer is suing fellow motorist Robin Major for scooter damages after Robin hit Matthew's scooter.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2197, Klinghoffer versus Major.
Thank you. You were riding a motor scooter.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe it for me, please?
It is a 2018 Yamaha Zuma.
Is that a small?
No, I got a picture of it here.
Can I see that, please? Yeah, well, it's small.
Yeah, it's a
And
small vehicle.
you were on this vehicle with a child.
Yes, ma'am.
That was your son, who's how old?
12.
What's his name?
Justin Barr.
He's not here today.
No.
Why not?
He has autism.
And you were riding with him going where on October 20th of last year?
I just picked him up from school and I was on my way home.
How far is it?
The school is less than a half a mile from my home.
Do you pick him up every day?
Most of the time, yeah, but since this accident, I have not picked him up since. Mom does.
So there's a car available to pick him up. It's your claim that the defendant, while acting negligently, hit your scooter and damaged it.
Yes, ma'am.
You want him to be responsible. That happened on the 22nd of October. I assume sometime after 3 o'clock?
Yes. It was at 3:18.
In what state do you live?
Evansville, Indiana.
Is there any sort of helmet rule in Indiana?
No, ma'am.
Yes, there is.
My son, for a child, yes.
Just a second. So the answer is either yes or no. You
Yes,
said
ma'am.
no.
For me, no. For my son, yes.
Was your son wearing a helmet?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he was
Shh,
not.
shh. No, listen to me. Shh. Don't speak.
He had a small purple bicycle helmet on
Now, you wear a helmet because?
to keep him from getting his head hurt.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Which
just for my own interest, why wouldn't you wear a helmet to prevent you from getting hurt?
Dumb is what dumb does.
Well, that would be an answer, because that sounds sort of reckless to me.
Yes, ma'am. I wear a helmet now.
And I'm not so sure your son was wearing a helmet on the 22nd of October either, sir. So I want you to be very, very careful when I ask you this question again. Are you positive, home? I understand you have some sort of a chart to try to explain to me what the accident was. This is your version of the accident. So you want to step over there, Mr. Klinghoffer?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be you and your son riding, both of you, probably without helmets. And it looks, that's your version, and it looks as if...
sitting in traffic.
Just a second.
Sorry.
And it looks as if there's a lot of traffic.
Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of traffic, no helmets, you're on your way home, and go ahead.
I was just sitting in traffic here, waiting for the train to clear, and he comes out of his driveway and backs right into me.
Okay.
No horn, no regard of me being there.
Wait 1 second. On the other side, this is your chart.
Yes, ma'am.
On the other side of where the defendant's driveway is, which I assume is the blue car, that's his driveway, is that a street?
Yes, ma'am.
You know where I'm talking about?
Yes,
Point to where I'm talking about.
This is a street
Yes,
called...
that's a street.
Yes.
And that's a street that has cars.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So one would say you should not be in that intersection.
Well, I
Just a
didn't...
second. Just a second. One would say, even in your chart, you should not be in that intersection. You should be either have enough room in front or wait until the traffic moves, because you're stuck in the middle. So a car can't move out of...
I was actually sitting about right here.
Well, this is your chart.
Yes, ma'am.
So you indicate that that chart is not absolutely correct.
No, it's
and
not.
that your scooter was right behind the three cars.
Behind these three cars here.
But still in the intersection.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second.
We was coming to a rolling stop as the arms were coming down, so I didn't know where I was going to stop at, so I was rolling with traffic. And the vehicle that was in front of me was also pulling a trailer, and I couldn't see around it. It was a big box trailer.
So you couldn't see what was in front of you?
No, I could not. And I got as far away from his driveway as I possibly could.
No, you weren't even thinking about his driveway, sir. Let's be square. You know, it's not a good idea to make things up as you go.
Don't come out of his driveway and back into me, ma'am.
Well, so you were watching the other side, not the driveway?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I was looking at the intersection. Just making sure I got out of the intersection, got past the yellow line.
Okay. So he clipped the...
rear, right by my taillight.
Yeah, back here.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened? You can go back now.
And it literally just shoved me over.
Okay, go back. So it shoved you over. Now, when it shoved you over, did you land on 1 foot or did you land on the pavement?
Oh, we landed on the pavement. I tossed my son up because he was sitting in front of me. Up onto his feet.
Oh, hold on. Hold the phone.
Mode.
Hold the phone. Your son was sitting in front of you.
Yes.
Is that what he said?
He was sitting in front of me.
So your son was driving?
No, he was not driving. I was driving.
I'm trying to get this picture in my head.
I'm being a
with this
protective
little,
parent.
just a second, with this little scooter. Your son was in front of you. This is one seat. So he was sitting in front of you.
Yes, ma'am.
your 12-year-old?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And how tall is your 12-year-old?
Probably about 5 foot, if that.
My size.
Yes.
So, like a fully grown adult. He may be not yet fully grown for a kid, but I'm a fully grown adult, and I'm 5 feet tall, and I've been that my whole life. So I'm an adult.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So your adult child is sitting in front of you. You're sitting behind him.
Yes.
Now, I want you to explain to me, hold out your arms. I want you to explain to me how your son is in front of you, you're behind him in the back part of this seat, and you're driving. I want you to explain that to me. The 12-year-old driving the motor scooter.
He was not driving.
But I don't believe you.
I don't believe you either.
I don't care whether you believe me. You're not judging me. I'm judging you. So that means that if I don't believe you, that's important. If you don't believe me, that is irrelevant.
Hello? I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl with a good...
Why do we shoot baskets with paper balls?
Matthew Klinghoffer claims fellow motorist Robin Major hit Matthew's scooter while Robin was pulling out of his driveway.
Go ahead.
I'm reaching around my son and driving. I've been doing it since I was 16. I've been driving scooters since I was 16.
Hey, you may have been driving scooters when you're 16, but I've been using my common sense for 80 years. And I don't see why your son wasn't sitting behind you so you didn't have to lean over on that big, long seat in order to be maneuvering this scooter. I'm not visualizing that, Mr. Klinghoffer, so I want you to take a deep breath. Kevin, let me see Mr. Major's diagram. So I want you, your son is sitting in front on the seat. You're sitting in the raised portion behind him. I want you to put that down there.
Which sitting back there in the raised portion makes me sit up much higher than him.
Sarah, does your research indicate how long this thing is? Does it give any dimensions?
I'm sure I could find it.
Okay, so he clipped the back and you fell off?
We fell over. I stood my son back up. I got up.
So you fell over and son got up?
I got my son up. I got up. He was still pushing my vehicle. I got up to smack on the back of his window. And then he gets out and aggressively screaming at me, "Why are you smacking on my window? Why are you trying to break my window?"
Okay.
I asked him, "Why are you still..."
UV, right? And you're in a very low scooter. Now, neither you or your son went to the hospital, is that right?
No, ma'am.
Neither you or your son had medical treatment at the scene.
My son was looked over, but that was
Just a second. Neither you had medical treatment at the scene.
No.
Neither you or your son went to a doctor.
No.
Now, do you have a photograph of what your scooter looked like after this accident? Because this is his photograph.
That's after the accident. There's another one.
Okay, I'd like to see what your photograph looks like.
There's all of them.
Mr. Klinghoffer of the motorcycle, because Mr. Major is handing me up his photographs of what this looks like.
Here's the whole stack.
Okay, so what we're talking about is this piece right here.
That's my exhaust. And
Just a second, that's what's damaged.
That and the upper panel there.
I don't see anything damaged in the upper panel.
On picture, it shows it.
I'd like to see
I bet
it.
it does. Now, on that muffler, that's rust.
That's not rust.
I might not know nothing about scooters, but I know what rust is like.
Mr. Major.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what's wrong with you. I made myself clear pleasantly to you, respectfully to you, but you certainly understood that here we don't talk to each other.
Yes, ma'am.
That you will have a turn right now. It's his turn.
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, that wheelbase is 50 inches, so about 4 feet wheel to wheel.
Okay, so let me see. So from here to here, wheel to wheel is 4 feet. So sitting on the back here, in order to get to the handlebars.
Maybe like 3 feet.
3 feet. Hold out your arms. Nah. Okay. Now, just to complete your story, sir, Mr. Klinghoffer, this happened in October, and you said you wear a motorcycle helmet now, or a helmet now, since the accident.
Yes, ma'am.
Since this accident.
It scared me straight.
And did you or did you not have the scooter repaired?
No, I have not had it repaired.
Just a second. So the answer is no. Pay attention, Mr. Klinghoffer, from which I deduce, you're looking at your papers, from which I deduce that the motor scooter is operable. You've been using it since October, despite the... No, just a second. I don't believe you, sir. Okay. I want you to be really careful about what you say to me. You do wear a helmet now. Now you know where I'm going, Mr. Klinghoffer. Since the accident, so does your son. There is nothing that appears to be mechanically wrong with this motor scooter in either your photographs or his. Nothing mechanical.
Estimate.
I don't care what your estimate says, sir. My naked eye. First of all, you understand that I'm doubting.
I understand,
I'm doubting big parts of your story, Mr. Klinghoffer.
I understand, ma'am.
I doubt big parts of your story about whether or not you were wearing a helmet. I don't think your son was wearing a helmet. I think that this diagram indicates to me that you were in a place where you shouldn't have been. That's your diagram. He has his own diagram that'd probably be very different. So I am going to assume, because that's my common sense, that you and or your son have been riding this motor scooter since October and that it hasn't sat idly. I don't care what you got, because the pictures belie the fact that this motor scooter was damaged beyond being rideable. And that's if it was his fault. Okay, now we've got his picture, now we're coming to you. Is that a fair and accurate representation of the accident site?
No, it's not. Yes.
Now,
how would you know? You wasn't even there. You didn't show up 20 minutes after the fact.
Excuse me.
You did not show up. She wasn't even there.
I'm going to throw you out, and you're going to lose this. I'm going to throw you out, and you're going to lose.
You called him an idiot in front of my son.
Okay, she's gone. Gone, gone, gone.
Yeah. I know why you can't afford insurance.
Gone.
We wouldn't be here today if he had insurance.
Did you understand why I threw your wife out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you people think this is all about. The fact that he had no, is what you say to me, he had no insurance, which is why you're here?
Yeah, we wouldn't be here right now if he had insurance, and insurance would have took care of all
Yeah,
that.
well, it's possible, Mr. Klinghoffer, that you wouldn't be here right now, and I haven't made a decision yet if you believe you.
I don't believe you either.
I don't care whether you believe me. You're not judging me. I'm judging you. So that means that if I don't believe you, that's important. If you don't believe me, that is irrelevant. Were you driving your car uninsured?
I was moving my...
Oh, no. Be very careful what you say to me. You turned the ignition on, started to move. That's driving.
And let yourself be here.
Guess who's back in the house? Paramount Plus has got your great reality escape. Escape into new seasons of the biggest competitions with the boldest personalities and the wildest drama.
Oh my God!
Paramount Plus. Stream now.
Matthew Klinghoffer is accusing fellow motorist Robin Major of hitting him and his son while Robin backed out of his driveway.
Okay. Your statement, Mr. Major, based upon this diagram, is that the defendant pulled out and was to sort of beat the traffic and was driving not in a lane, which suggests to me, sir, that you saw him.
I didn't see him.
Well, how do you know that he pulled out?
When I was backing out, the car that's adjacent there waved me out.
You mean the car
behind?
He's waving you on to
it's
suggest that it's clear.
So I'm coming out, and I didn't see him, Your Honor.
You didn't see him?
No.
Okay. Now go back. Now, Mr. Major, we're going to get to insurance. Were you driving your car uninsured?
I wasn't. I was moving my.
Oh, no. Be very careful what you say to me. You put a key in the ignition. You turned the ignition on. You put the car in reverse.
Yes, ma'am.
Started to move. That's driving.
Yes, ma'am.
And driving far enough into the street so you weren't on your property.
No, my car was still in.
Oh, no, Mr. Major. Mr. Major, you said that that's a fair and accurate representation of the accident
That's
scene.
my driveway.
The back of your car is not in the driveway. The back of your car is in a public street. That's
Right,
what you
I
said.
wouldn't know
Yeah,
that.
he was. Listen to me, Mr. Major. I'm an equal opportunity abuser. You have to understand that. So please, I'm sort of ancient, but please don't treat me as if I'm stupid.
No,
People confuse age with stupidity.
No,
that would be a huge mistake on your part.
Yes.
Huge. Unless you're suggesting he came up on your driveway, which this doesn't suggest at all. You were in a public street without insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that would be an easy. Did the police respond to this accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a police report?
There. Yes,
May I have it,
thing
please?
they gave me.
Right here.
Scuff and scratch marks were observed on the left side of vehicle 2. That's what the police officer observed. Now, what did you do after this accident, Mr. Klinghoffer?
I called the police.
You got the police. The police came, they took a report, they spoke to you. Now, you were picking your son up from school.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
I went home.
You went home with your son. Now, when you went home with your son, you were riding in front, is that correct?
We walked home. My vehicle was not rideable. My exhaust pipe was
Just a
bent.
second. How did you get the motor scooter?
I pushed it.
Did you see him push the motor?
This way.
Step over next to your husband, please. Were you at home when your husband came home with your son after this accident?
He actually called me.
Just a second. I said, were you at home?
Yes, I was at home.
Who else was home with you?
My brother and my friend.
You say your husband called you and he told you about the accident.
Yes.
And what did you do?
Me and got in the car and we pulled up and I parked in the middle of the street.
Go over to that chart and show me where you pulled up.
About right here.
Okay, so you pulled up right near where the accident was?
Yes.
And where was your husband?
He was right here with Justin.
Okay, go back. And then what happened? Police come, police leave. I want you to tell me what happened next.
After the police and fire department and ambulance leave, me and Justin walked to where they told me to park my car. So me and Justin got in the car.
And your husband?
He was walking the scooter back to our house with.
And is that how he arrived at the house, walking with the motor scooter?
Yes.
Very good. Kevin, she can go out now.
This way, please.
Now, as soon as Kevin gets back, I'm going to take a look at your estimate.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, so protector muffler, reasonable. Front fender, unreasonable. Just a second. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Radiator cover, footrest boards. No. Rear reflector is reasonable. Exhaust pipe. Okay. Now, Mr. Major.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to tell you that ordinarily I would award him half the damage because I think that he was 50% responsible for this accident. I think he was driving negligently with his son. I think his son was actually, his 12-year-old son was driving the scooter. And if it was true, it was still reckless. So I would actually ascribe half of his damage to him. I'm not, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if there was a lot of traffic, you are at least partially responsible for not being more cautious. You're driving in a big car. There was somebody behind you because you did, in fact, hit them. And you have to be very cautious when you're driving a big car. The reason I'm ascribing all the damage to you, sir, is because you had no insurance. And nobody belongs on the road without insurance. And there has to be a penalty when you're driving without insurance, just like when you were driving without a license. Do you require a license? Just a second. Hey! Where you live, which Sarah can check, do you need a driver's license to ride a scooter on the street?
No, you need an endorsement for a Class B scooter.
A what?
An endorsement for a Class B scooter.
Okay. Do you have that?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your son?
No.
Your son was driving. Your case is dismissed. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
My son was not driving.
Court is adjourned.
I had insurance, but I had it on my other vehicle, not on my truck. I didn't feel nothing until he was pounding on the back of my window. I did not see the scooter until after the fact. Wear your helmet when you're on a scooter and have insurance when you're back on your driveway.
You know what was interesting about that, Sarah, to me? The one thing he said, which came out sort of by accident, was that his son was in front of him. And there's no question that...
I can imagine a world in which you're very uncomfortably trying to ride around your son, but he's not a 7 or 8 year old. You know, he's a teenage boy who's 5 feet tall, and that would be like one of us sitting in front of him. So I agree that it doesn't make the most sense. I could fathom it. However, common sense kind of kills it.
Common sense kind of kills it, and so does, we were all wearing helmets.
Yeah.
And so does, I pick him up in the motor scooter, and this guy for sure lets his 12-year-old son drive it. And there's a lot of traffic based upon what both things. And the defendant had no insurance. They deserved each other.
Yeah.
Want justice? Go to Dr. Ed Meyer for damage resulting from Ed moving his plane.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2145, Lee versus Meyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lee, you are an amateur pilot?
Yes, I was yes.
And you owned your own plane?
I bought it to train in, yes.
When did you purchase the plane?
In, I believe, April of 2021.
Did you buy it new or used?
I bought it used.
What kind of plane is it?
It's a Cirrus SR-22, 2010 type Golf.
What did you pay for it?
I paid $420,000 for it, I believe.
Is there a mortgage on the...
Yes, there is.
How much?
It's $2,204 per month.
You paid $425,000 for the plane?
Yeah, I put a down payment on it. The outstanding balance is $347,000. The payment per month is $2,000.
Okay. I don't need the payment per month. I just wanted to know what you paid for it and how much you put into the plane.
Yes.
The defendant is a pilot, licensed pilot, and he was giving you some training on the plane.
Certified flight instructor, yes.
It is your claim that at some point, you'll tell me when, that the defendant was operating the plane by himself. You weren't there, and he was moving it from one part of the FBO to another part, and he hit a cone and caused substantial damage to the propeller and the engine. And while you had your insurance did cover some of it, according to you, it did not cover all of the expenses, and you want Mr. Meyer to be responsible for that. So it's a simple question. Mr. Meyer, do you remember the date that you were operating the plane when Mr. Lee was not there?
Yes.
What date?
It was in April sometime.
April of 2022?
Correct.
Do you remember the date, Mr. Lee?
Yes.
What date?
It's April 20.
Decided that you would make your way home and that he would get the plane home when the weather was better.
Correct.
And that was on or about April 22nd.
I flew home on a commercial flight the day before on April 21st.
And you stayed with the plane?
Yes.
Now, would you agree, Mr. Meyer, that if in fact you hit an object with the plane, it would be your responsibility?
Yes.
Because it would mean that there was some sort of negligence involved.
Right.
And then there would be the issue of damages. Mr. Lee, you were not present when this incident happened?
I was not
present.
I was not present. I was able.
No, you were not present.
I was not present.
That's the answer. Was this witness present?
He was not present, but he was the one responsible for procuring the evidence on what happened and how the propeller was damaged.
Who does he work for?
He has his own flight school, and he also manages my airplane in terms of the maintenance and the upkeep.
Okay. Could you step up, please? Tell me your last name.
Last name is Williams.
Mr. Williams, were you charged with gathering the evidence to determine what happened to the plane on the 22nd of April?
Yes, I was.
And you're paid a monthly fee by the plaintiff to manage his plane.
That's correct.
Did you retain the defendant as an instructor, or did Mr. Lee?
That was both decided by Mr. Lee and Mr. Myers to fly for him.
But you
He's
did
an
not.
independent contractor. At that.
You did not have anything to do with, as the manager of the plane, you didn't have anything to do with selecting Mr. Meyer.
That's correct.
When, Mr. Lee, did you start to work with Mr. Meyer?
It was probably a prior flight where we flew to San Francisco for a business meeting I had. After that, I believe it was...
In what month?
Roughly about the same month.
In April?
Yeah, in
so
April.
You didn't
maybe.
know him for a long time?
No, not very long.
I'm going to get back to you in a minute, Mr. Williams. Prior to the defendant, had anybody else been an instructor for you?
Yes. Clinton was my primary instructor, but I flew with some other instructors as well.
But it wasn't until the month that this incident occurred that you had been connected with the defendant?
Correct.
Okay. Now, sir, how were you advised that the plane that you managed was in an accident?
I received a phone call from Ed saying that there was a problem.
From whom?
From Mr. Myers, that there was a problem with the aircraft after he taxied and did the run-up and returned the aircraft back to Signature in Las Vegas. We notified and contacted a...
Did you ask, what you would usually ask is what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Just a second, and what did he say to you?
He said that he was having instrument problems with the aircraft and he wasn't able to take off, so he returned the aircraft. At that point in time, I contacted a service center. I had 2 technicians go out and look at the aircraft, see what was wrong. At the time, the technicians found that they...
Don't tell me what they found.
Okay.
You can't tell me what they found. It's hearsay.
They send me pictures of the damage of the propeller.
May I see the photographs? Okay, so that's a fresh damage.
Correct.
Can I scroll this?
Yes, you may.
Or it's just one? Okay, so you have a picture of that. You have a picture of the cone that has a slice in it.
Correct, that's the object he hit. We also have a video showing the plane taxi and hitting the cone at the...
I'd like to see was before you moved it.
It should be on the last, on the far left side of that Learjet.
Okay. Oh. Mr. Meyer, do you see that you went over a cone?
It's interesting. I didn't even notice there was a cone.
You may not notice it, but you see it now.
Yes.
Okay. Your hitting of the cone caused damage to that plane. I mean, you're not talking about flying a 747. You're talking about a little single prop plane. Yeah, me, they like those planes you put together, we used to put together with rubber bands. I wouldn't put my behind in one of those planes for all the money in the world.
Albert Lee claims pilot instructor Ed Meyer is responsible for damage after Ed moved Albert's plane.
Okay.
In all of my years of flying, which is pretty significant, I was an airline pilot too, I've never, ever experienced that in my life.
Okay, but you see it now.
Yes.
It's not an on purpose. It's, you know, that's why they call them accidents. We don't mean for them to happen.
Right.
We don't mean for them to happen, but you do see that the plane did hit a cone.
Right.
Okay. And I have photographs of the cone that has a slice in it, and the same kind of slice from one of the propellers. Now, so that's conceded that Mr. Meyer did, in fact, hit the cone, which in all probability caused damage to the plane, caused damage to the propeller. Now, tell me about your...
Starts the propeller, they have to tear apart the engine, make sure the components...
Do you have those...
I
that
do.
paperwork for me? I'd like to see it.
Okay, so here is the insurance-covered portion And here is my covered portion that I had to come out of pocket to pick up the plane. And I can explain both invoices. And if you flip to the last page, that'll have the total. Insurance covered about 60-something thousand for the propeller and the engine teardown.
Okay. So the damaged propeller, Mr. Williams, causes you to have to take apart the engine, fix the engine if there was damage to the engine. Am I correct?
That's correct. The FAA requires anytime you strike an object with a propeller, the engine has to be inspected in the component parts. So they
component parts of the engine.
Yeah, with the damage, potential damage of the engine, internal damage that could be caused by striking an object.
Okay. The insurance covered how much, sir, Mr. Lee?
It's sorry, it's on the invoice 60. I think it was 63,000, 64,000. It's on the last page.
The last page shows
a deposit
$63,000.
Yes, that's it.
The deposit was 40, balance due was 23. Did the insurance company pay the entire 63?
This entire
$63,000. This is what was submitted to them.
Yes.
Okay, now I'd like you to take a look at this, Mr. Meyer. No, I'm going to actually ask Mr. Williams to take a look at this document. These are the items, Mr. Williams, that Mr. Lee says were uncovered. I would like you to go through all those items and tell me which of those items relate to the engine and which do not.
Okay, is this the total?
Carefully, because I'm going to potentially ask you.
This on the airframe are the items that need to be inspected or replaced from the teardown. So your item 1, item 2, 3, 4, item 5, 6, 7, 8. These are all items that the repair shop goes through the engine and assesses whether it needs.
Well, tell me how the brakes would be impacted.
I don't think
impacted by hitting the.
Which invoice?
And I don't know, but how brakes would be impacted by hitting a nose cone.
Brake lining. I don't know what that is.
Okay. Yeah, some of these items, Your Honor, such as one of these items, the brake lines, as you pointed out, is probably not part of the.
Well, that's what I want you to go through, sir.
Okay.
Do you understand? I want you to take a marker, a pen, and circle, because I don't know a whole lot about airplanes, but I know a little bit about airplanes. I know what's routine maintenance and what has to be taken care of because a plane either falls on its nose or falls on its tail, both of which I've experienced.
Well, this is a small invoice. This is not your. This is a 12.
Mr. Williams, don't ask him. I didn't ask you to have a conference with him.
Okay.
I asked you to look at that. You're the management company. I want you to strike those items that are not related to this accident and go through them very carefully because.
Can I make a comment? Okay.
Nope.
To you directly.
Nope.
Okay.
Can I ask you something?
Can you ask me something?
Yeah. Well, they should tell you those cones are made of plastic.
I don't care. They're heavy cones. You hit the cone, and the plane flew. I mean, you're not talking about flying a 747. You're talking about a little this is a single prop plane.
Right.
Yeah. Me, they like those planes you put together. We used to put together with rubber bands. I wouldn't put my behind in one of those planes for all the money in the world.
The only items I can see, Your Honor, are 2 items that may not be related to the accident, items 7 and 8.
Okay, may I have that back, please, sir? And you are familiar with planes, sir, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what you're saying is item
The circled item.
7 and 8.
Correct.
So we have.
There's a couple of invoices.
We have right and left main gear, but which is 143 plus 270 plus 66. What about item 9? Pitch, trim, jab, nut, loose. What is that?
Probably what they do during the inspection and the tear down, they go through the aircraft itself, make sure it's airworthy. So they probably caught another item or 2. You can probably put that on item that's wasn't part of the accident.
The big ticket items, adding up all of these items, Mr. Meyer, that probably have no relation to the accident which you caused.
Correct.
still bring the total amount to more than this court's jurisdictional limit. Can you tell me, sir, why your insurance, Mr. Williams, let's go back to you. You manage this plane. Can you tell me why Mr. Lee's insurance didn't cover all the damage to the plane?
A lot of the prospective renters or instructors that everybody uses, or we used in this case, carry their own insurance for this type of incident. Their insurance covers basically downtime, loss of operation, or in this case...
You mean Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
Someone?
He had insurance, but it was lapsed.
If you have insurance that's lapsed, then you have no insurance.
Yeah, that's correct.
So you're lucky that he's not suing you.
Albert Lee is accusing pilot instructor Ed Meyer of hitting a cone and damaging his plane. Ed says Albert was already paid by his insurance company.
Okay, Mr. Williams,